Hello and welcome into the RotoWire Esports Show. My name is Andrew Laird, joined as always by Ethan Sexton, today to talk about Saturday's four-game LPL LCK slate. Ethan, we had four sweeps today, two underdogs, two favorites. We, based on the odds, shouldn't be seeing quite the same tomorrow. We've got Gen G is the biggest favorite against Sandbox. We've got Victory 5 against your favorite team, Thunder Talk. DRX favored against Fredit Brion, who we always love to jump against. And then one that I think most people will be interested in, the FPX against Invictus Gaming. I wish I had like 80,000 in salary for this slate because as much as I feel like a lot of people are just going to be like, oh, I'll just play a favorite and Invictus Gaming because they're the cheapest ones and we'll just go from there. I just feel like obviously the odds don't reflect it, and it's probably my own personal specific DFS bias about Invictus Gaming disappointing me, which I am starting to pick up is exactly when I should start trusting them. But I think FPX blow them out tomorrow.
Blow them out? Oh man, that's it's.
There's no reason for me to think this other than spite.
No, yeah, that's perfectly fine. I mean, we all go from the gut, the spike gut every now and then. Yeah, that's obviously the marquee matchup tomorrow, and it's the one people are really going to have to think about the most because I think, like you were saying, these other underdogs, nobody really wants to touch them. I mean, you got Fredit Brion, who despite beating Damwon, I think we bring this up once a podcast now, despite beating them, are looking like probably the worst team in Korea. And then, you've got Thunder Talk, who are probably the worst team in China. So you've got two of the worst teams in these two leagues. I mean, maybe Thunder Talk aren't the worst team in China, but They're definitely one of the worst teams.
They're certainly closer to the worst than the best.
Yeah, they're fighting alongside with OMG and LGD as the teams who are yet to win a game. So, you've got two of the worst teams in their respective leagues, and then you've got Sandbox, who are frisky. Let's say.
I like that.
They're a frisky team, but they're if we're saying Fredit Brion are one of the worst teams in the league at 1-4, I think we got to include Sandbox as one of the worst teams in the LCK at 1-4 as well.
Tough.
So yeah, they're a little bit frisky. Like their lineup is a little better, but man, nobody really wants to. I don't think really anyone's going to want to touch these three underdogs except for purposes of leverage and low ownership.
Right.
So that FPX IG series is really the one people are going to have to take a stand on because IG are really the only viable underdog on this slate that, at least in my opinion, that have a chance of winning. So that's the one, man. I mean, that's a really awesome matchup. It's kind of like WERNG today, and then on Sunday we get Top Esports and JDG. So we've got three really good matchups in the LPL these next 3 days. And IG FPX is an awesome one. Should be an exciting series, up tempo, I would think, and yeah, it's a tough one to call. I mean, I think at the end of the day, I think I lean with you, and I think FPX are going to win, but I definitely give IG a shot. Whereas, out of your spite, you're not giving them quite that close a look. It sounds like.
No, I mean, I will definitely have plenty of IG lineups just because, like salary wise, it's just tough to play like what you want.
Yep.
We should know. So Victory 5's top laner is not in the player pool. They called, what was his name? Invincible?
Yeah.
Called him up for.
Yeah.
It's like, do they get any extra points for having 5 and 6 top laners on the roster? Like, what's the deal here?
No, they don't. I mean, I don't know what the hell they're doing, honestly. Like, why are they just going to bring up a new top laner for every series?
Right.
I don't know. Who knows? But I guess I know nothing about this guy, so I can't really give much insight to anybody. I don't know. It makes no sense. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's whatever. I mean, even if he shows up in the player pool, I don't know. You can throw him in if you're doing a V5 stack, I guess, but I don't know. I don't know anything about him.
Right. It's one of those things where because I have effectively no history of playing League of Legends DFS, that it means nothing to me. Like I see it's not like I look at the other top laners and be like, man, I would definitely stack V5 if I knew whoever else was starting. But like, I just look at the fact that they're still a big favorite. They're playing one of the worst teams that we see. And so, like, if no offense to you, but like if you were starting in the top lane, like I'd roster you too. So like, it not that you need a top laner in your stack for if you want that long stack to be V5. But anyway,
right.
So I think obviously we think IG is going to be popular in terms of underdogs. You can't just build straight up like V5 IG AD carry lineups, I don't think. No, you can't. Which brings us right back to the jungler captain conversation that we're going to probably have every slate because they're still not priced like mid laners. Do you think it's a double jungle slate?
I think so, just because there's really not a lot of viable spots to go with these underdogs. So unless you're really like swinging for the fences and gonna do either a short or a long stack with an underdog that's not IG, I think a lot of people are going to end up probably looking to the double jungle, which, as we've discussed the last few days, is certainly a viable way to go as these junglers continue to put up pretty good point totals in all these series. You've got guys on this slate again. You've got a Piosic, who plays carries. Wei plays carries. Assuming Flawless is going to start for Gen G again, he can play carries, but I don't know. I don't know if Flawless is actually going to start because Gen G, Clid I thought was playing fine, and then they dropped that series to Damwon when Flawless started. So maybe Clid comes back in, but Clid can play carries from time to time. We don't necessarily always think of him as a carry jungler in the same tier as some other guys, but he definitely can. And then IG's Jun has been one of the best carry junglers in the league so far, putting up incredible point totals. So he's another one. And then Bo could also, so far it seems like Bo can also play carry. So yeah, a lot of these junglers are more oriented to playing carry style picks, and I think a lot of lineups are going to have to go the double jungle or double support we might see as well tomorrow, just because these salaries are so lopsided, and there's really not a lot of great spots to go with these underdogs that aren't IG, in my opinion.
And even then, you may not feel all that safe.
I know. Say this for IG though. I mean, you may not feel that great about playing them, but they definitely always have upside.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what separates them from the other. I guess we've seen wasn't there one slate where Sandbox crushed? Yep. I
think that was the Africa, the only series they won, right, when they smashed them.
Right, the only one they won. It wasn't. So at least you have the benefit with IG that like we've seen it. We've seen them do well, and like we know they have that in them. Whereas even with like Fred and Breon, which we'll bring up every slate, every discussion, that like they even when they won, they didn't score that well.
Right.
So I just don't.
The interesting thing with them, like I will say this about them, so I don't expect them to win tomorrow at all, right? But DRX really don't have a win against an impressive opponent. They got swept by KT last time out, and then their wins are against Sandbox, bottom of the league, Red Force towards the bottom of the league, and Africa towards the bottom of the league. So their 3 wins are against bottom half of the table teams. And then their losses, they got swept by KT, like we said last time out, and then 2-1 they fell to HLE. So they really don't have a win against an impressive opponent. So does that make people want to take a shot with Fred at Breon? It doesn't make me want to. I still think DRX are going to win, but I did just want to at least mention that. You can kind of say the same thing for V5, but at least V5 beat a decent-looking BLG team.
Yeah.
And TT are just awful. Like I think if Fred at Breon never beats Damwon, then we feel the same way about them as we would about TT. But they have that one freak win that at least gives us a little bit of pause, maybe. Where V5, like I don't think V5 are a great team necessarily. I think they're like middle of the pack or towards the bottom of the middle of the pack. But it's just that TT are probably the worst team overall on this slate. They've just looked atrocious in every series, and they have a pretty poor roster. So, like, I guess what I'm trying to get at is, like, V5 being the most expensive, I think, in every single role except for top lane. At least it feels weird, but at the same time, TT are so bad that maybe it's right, and maybe they don't have trouble paying off those lofty salaries tomorrow.
The irony of V5 not having the most expensive top laner is that they don't have a top laner in the player pool.
Maybe that's why. Yeah,
they have the other guys at least. So like they're behind the Gen G guys. But it's funny when I was looking at the odds, I saw before I saw who they were playing, I saw that V5 were like this huge favorite, and I'm like, how is this possible? Like they're not. And I'm like, oh, Thunder Talk. That's why.
Right. Yeah. It's just a matter of Thunder Talk are probably they're one of the worst teams in the LPL, and they just have looked like they haven't even really looked like they have much signs of life to really be able to win even a game in a lot of series. So I think that's why they're priced up so much, and I don't think it's necessarily the wrong thing. They're probably going to come out and get a sweep, because I do think V5 are at least decent enough where they can crap on some of these really bad teams. It's just when they start playing some of the stud rosters in the LPL that you don't really think that they can compete on that level. Yeah, we've seen it since the end. Summer split last year. They're capable of putting up high point totals in matchups like this. So I wouldn't have too much concern playing them. It just feels a little weird looking at them at the top of the peak there in terms of salaries tomorrow.
Yeah, I think I'm willing to give Fredit Brion more credit against DRX than I am Sandbox against Gen G.
Yeah, I think I am too, and I think it's just kind of to that point we were making where DRX don't really have a win against a good team.
Yeah.
Now, Fredit Brion aren't a good team,
right.
So they probably should take care of business and win. But, Sandbox have looked really pretty bad except for that series against Afrika that they won. And even though Gen G's going through a little bit of a tough time, their losses are still the good teams in HLE and Damwon, so we're not really holding that against them too much. Gen G should take care of business tomorrow against Sandbox. They've just got the much better team, much better roster overall, and so I'm with you on that. Like, if we're going to see one of the two LCK series end in an upset, I would definitely give the edge to Fredit Brion, even though we don't really like them. Just in terms of who they're facing, I agree with you.
Do you think IG score enough points in a win?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, okay.
I think that series got to be the most explosive, but in terms of back and forth fighting, I think that's the only one that, like, on paper, that's the only one that really seems like it's going to be a competent, slugfest back and forth. Whereas these other games could all be 2-0 sweeps, but the teams only need like 15 kills per game to take down the other team. Where IG and FPX might scrap it out, and that could be a bloody series. I mean, I don't really like doing game stacks, but I could definitely see why people might want to game stack that one tomorrow, because that one could be bloody on both sides no matter who wins. It's just an awesome series, man. Like, two really good teams. I'm glad it's at 6 o'clock because it's a little later. I'll be fully awake, be able to watch it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that one for sure. And I do think whichever side wins, I think the highest upside lies with the winner of that series, because I think that's going to be the scrappiest affair, and 20 kills per game for the winner. I could definitely see that. I think what you have to factor in is, though, if it goes 2-1, do teams put up? Does whoever wins 2-1, do they put up enough points in the game that they lost to offset some of these teams that are going to potentially get the games not played bonus?
Right.
I could see V5. Like, I feel better about V5 getting to 20 kills than I do like Gen G or DRX. I think Gen G and DRX in wins might just kind of be very straightforward, not need a ton of kills to get the job done. But I think V5 could come out and really put up some high kill totals, even in a straightforward 2-0 sweep tomorrow. So that's probably factoring into why they're the most expensive team as well. Is they've got some pretty good upside as well. But yeah, I think the LPL series are the ones for upside tomorrow for sure.
Yeah, I think if it was if it was a 2-game just LPL slate, we'd see a lot of people game stacking that FPX IG game just because, like one of those where like you might end up getting more points from that one than V5 and whoever the loser is in that one.
Right.
I don't know. Do we have any lineup questions for? I guess we mentioned the Gen G jungler issue. Sandbox seems pretty stable.
Yeah, Sandbox seem pretty stable at this point. I mean, they do have Route and Leo.
Oh, that's right.
Leo's been playing, but they've been losing.
Right.
So they could go back to Route potentially, but I think pretty sure Onfleek is still inactive, so should be Krako in the jungle. And then the biggest one is just, I think, Gen G's jungler, because they started flawless for the first time in the last series, but they lost that series, so not sure if Klid's going to come back or not. But I think that's maybe the biggest question mark, and especially in that late series, we're not going to know before lineup lock for sure who's going to be there.
Right, and DRX, I think, have used the same 5 all season. Yeah. Yep,
they have. I don't think we'll see their backup top laner destroy unless things start going really sideways for them, because I think Kingen is a good enough player that he should garner the majority of the starts for them all year.
I'm not going to even think about the Fredit Brion lineup.
No, they've been pretty solid as far in terms of who they're playing, but not in terms of their actual play.
Right, of actually winning, yeah.
So
that's fair. All right, cool. If you guys have enjoyed the video, if you could just please hit the like button below. Feel free to subscribe for all the RotoWire videos, all the sports that we cover. I've been showing some screenshots from the RotoWire stats pages that we have. Apologies yesterday for the blurriness on the video there. Hopefully we'll get that cleaned up. But if you want to try out all of those pages, if you're not a subscriber, just go to rotowire.com/pod. That's POD. You get free access for 10 days to everything we have on the site, as well as our subscriber Discord, where conversation keeps going for League of Legends. So check that out. Ethan, thank you for that. And good luck on Saturday.
All right, man. Thanks. Same to you.